Hello, Gabriel.
Hello, Martina.
I want to ask you, when you look back the last weeks, the last 20 weeks, what happened in your life? What would you say? What are the pearls, the treasures that you found?
The first thing that comes when you talk about it is a book I read 2 times in the last 4 weeks, I think, or in the last five weeks, because it was so good. And I read it in like 3 days or something, or 4 days, already knowing that I would read it a second time. So I didn't write passages out of it, because I started to do that. I started to write the good parts that I want to remember somehow in my beat book, like all the treasures of the book. And when I started reading it the second time, I was exhausted pretty fast, because I wrote so much, but I didn't really read the book anymore. Like, I read a few pages and I wrote and wrote and wrote. It takes forever to have a printed page written in handwriting in my beat book. And I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote 1.5 pages, and then I read some more, and I wrote and wrote and wrote in my beat book. The book is called Walking on Water by Derek Jensen.
And what does that book have to do with the pearls that you found?
It's a possibility manager, like a person who lives with distinctions, and he's a teacher. And he talks about how to teach people and what's wrong with the school system and what's right with the school system. As a hint, there are not so many things that are right. But what the real purpose about the school system is, and what teaching could be like, and what learning could be like, when it wasn't put into this pressure thing of having to learn the thing that the teacher says. And like, I talked to so many people about it in the last weeks, and I started with a question: what did you do in school to slack off, like to do nothing? How did you waste your time? Martina, like, how did you waste your time in school? What did you do?
I always love to go to school.
Oh, wow.
It was a possibility for me to get out of my home. I always like to go there. It wasn't necessary for me to waste the time or to slack time.
And then you just were in school, and you were always like present and looked at, like, did what the teacher asked for.
Yeah, I was a good pupil. I was very adaptive,
Yeah.
and it was not a problem for me to be there and to do what has to be done.
Wow. That's like pretty unusual, I would say. I did things like, I tried how many times can I press on the equal sign on my calculator, because if you put in 1 plus 1, every time you press the equal sign, it makes +1. So it's like 1 plus 1 equals 2, equals 3, equals 4, equals 5. So I could just like press and press and press and press and press, and see how many 100 or 1,000 times I can press onto this button in 45 minutes. And I had a lot of friends who were drawing in school, and yeah, this author talks about that he did some fantasy baseball in his head, and like really went into the stadium action of, okay, oh, and he's hitting, and like doing the commentary of the game in his head, because he was bored. Yeah, and most people I talked to were quite bored in school. And yeah, I think I copied like 20 pages of my beat book are just with this book. I've never written so much of a book before. It's so.
So this is one of the pearls that
Yeah.
book, that you found, that book.
Yeah.
What does this book have to do with you?
I have always been a trainer. I've always been a trainer. When I was 6 years old and when I was in my first year of school, my sister was 4 years old, and she couldn't read, she couldn't write, and she couldn't do math. And I learned it. And so I passed on the knowledge to her. So she could, when she was 4 years old, she could read and write and do basic math. So when she was 5, she was so bored in kindergarten, so she went to school when she was 5 because she could already read and like do the first grade stuff. And it has so much value for teachers, what the essence of teaching is, which is to somehow bring love to the soul in the person, for them to unravel what they hid or what they buried, and then to become, I mean, he's doing teaching for writing, so then to become the writer that they already are. So he cannot really teach them anything. He can just like give them experiments and yeah, give them so many experiments and love and possibilities in a space that holds every individual. And I'm a trainer for other people, and this really speaks to me. Even though it's not, the book itself is not about teaching, it's about reading and writing and revolution. That's the subtitle. And still I'm so amazed by the book. And he also, and I'm very glad for him to, many people, when they learn something, at some point they forget how hard it was to learn it. Or at least they don't show it anymore, and they show off what they can do now, because yeah, just do the experiment, you know. And he says how many experiments he did failed, and how long it took him to get to the point where he is now. He also writes about that in the book, so it's very authentic.
Yeah. Do you remember last week we talked about, I don't know if it was in the interview, we talked about children throwing something on the floor, sitting in the chair and throwing something on the floor 100 times, always the same thing. And when you watch them, you think, oh, this child is just dropping this thing 100 times and somebody is picking it up and laying it back. And the thing is that this is a big learning process for the child, because the child does this with variations, little variations that you perhaps you cannot see, little twist of the hand, little variation, how strong it throws or where it throws or how it turns the spine or what it does with the head, and little variations. And so the child learns what is the best way to throw this thing on the floor. And it's not work. It's not work for the child. I think we have this idea that learning is exhausting from school.
It was in school. It still is in school.
I had the luck when I went to school. I had a teacher who had who woke up in me the love for words and for books and for stories. And I think it would have been awakened anyway later, but he did that. He yeah.
I think we could do an extra session of just like, why did you like school so much apart from getting off home? Why did you like so many people? What's different for you in school that you like the experience and so many people just like some topics, but they just don't like others?
Yeah.
Like, did you carry this question around for some time with you already?
I never thought about that until I got in touch with possibility management, where everybody seems to hate the time in school and tell about terrible things that happened there. And yeah, I don't have those stories. Yeah, I have other stories, and yeah. Okay, yeah, what did you want to say, because time is over?
Time is over. I wanted to start a new space.
We do that next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a nice day. See
Yeah,
you
you
next
too.
week. Bye-bye.
Bye.